friends, so I wanted to create a video walkthrough of my most recent blog, the role of blog categories and blog tags in organizing your photography website. That's a mouthful. It does not have to be a photography website. Blog categories and blog tags are pretty universal, but the examples I'm going to be giving and talking about in this blog are photography related. Now, I will link the original blog. So if you have ended up here some other way, just via the video, this is following a blog that I've already written. I think that some of this stuff, it's really helpful to see it in action and to listen to it. So depending on what type of a learner you are, how you like to receive content, there is the written post here, and then there is this video walkthrough with a couple examples sprinkled in. All right, let's dive into this. So this whole thing is about categories and tags, and it's one of the most underutilized sections of a website. When I get a new client coming to work with me, I always, I'm auditing their whole site, and there's some common things that I see. However, blog tags and categories are probably my number one area where not only is there improvement, but it's a quick pickup improvement, meaning if we restructure some things without creating new content, we can get a lot of pages indexed and a lot more visibility. It's a big bang for your buck SEO item. So that's where I really want to talk about this. So before we dive into how to optimize them, what are blog categories and blog tags? This is a kind of a down and dirty explanation of it. You could probably get a little bit more, you could definitely get a little bit more technical with it. The best way to explain it is the blog categories are the big sections of your site divided into categories that you want to write about on your blog. And what I mean by this is that if you are a family photographer or just, let's say, a general photographer in a certain area, I would expect to see categories on your blog like families, newborns, brands, things that support the services that you do. If you're a wedding photographer, I would expect to see categories that support the different elements of your wedding business. So maybe elopements, engagements, micro weddings. You could have a behind the scenes if you wanted to, but they would be categories that support the overarching theme of your website. And this is really important because Google loves to see organized content. It likes to see all of the family stuff together. It likes to see all of the wedding stuff together. And it is always trying to decide who is an expert and who has a lot of expertise in an area when it comes to ranking. It's not enough just to talk about the thing. You have to prove your expertise. And by making your site easy to understand and by grouping all of your content together, that shows that you're an expert in these areas. So your blog categories should be well thought out and a representation of the things that you're going to find on your website. Blog tags are just another way to categorize your content, but think of them as like a subcategory to your category. So if you have a family category on your website, you might have tags that support it that say what to wear, family photo locations. You could even have family photo inspiration. You could have one that says sunset photos. You could have one that says photos with toddlers. Now, where this sort of breaks that idea of tags being a subcategory of a category is that you could have a tag like what to wear, and you could tag it on a blog post that lives in family, and then you could come over here and write a newborn post and also tag it with what to wear. So you have these overarching themes for categories on your website. And then your blog tags, if you choose to utilize them, are just more granular ways to organize content. It's all about organizing content and grouping things together. Now, I want to give you a caveat on blog tags. If you're like, okay, I get the categories, but the tags seem a little bit too much for me, don't use them. Tagging is only helpful when it's used correctly, only when you have enough content to add these granular things. If you have 6 blogs and you're only planning on writing one more for the rest of the year, don't use tags. If you use tags to just throw them out there because the field exists and you're putting something to put something in there, it could actually be hurting your SEO. So if you have enough content to fill your categories, great. If you have 10 or 15 blogs in each category, now can you start creating tags to even further organize that content? And let me show you 2 examples of how the tags and the categories work. So if I go to my photography website, I am a multi-passionate photographer like a lot of you out there. So you're going to see categories that say families, newborns, brands, couples, education, and then personal. And personal is my catch-all that I love to use for things like updates. I think my COVID policy is on there. I might say like my favorite photos that I took in 2025. That could be a blog post that would go there. But these are the categories for that website. Now, if I look at my, let's go to this one. If I look at my blog for the Business for Creatives website, it's all about SEO. This one is a little bit more tricky to think about categories, because remember, I'm trying to create categories that match the content that's on my website. But if I'm a singularly passionate person, in this case, SEO, maybe in your case, wedding photography, how do I break out my categories? So I do have one category that's traditional SEO or SEO basics. Then I have a how-to. So if it's a tutorial, it's going to go there. If I'm talking about AI, inspiration, for photographers, this is like reviews on CRMs like Sprout or 17 Hats, things like that. And then again, I've got this personal catch-all. It is more tricky to think about your categories if you are a niched business. If you are a multi-passionate photographer, this is pretty easy. But now, where do tags come in? For me, I choose to display tags on this website, and I have them just down at the bottom. I don't think that my users are ever going to scroll all the way down here and search a tag, but you know who will? Google. So that is why I want to use tags. So if you were to click on SEO basics, it's going to open up a new website page. This is really important, and this is why they really matter for Google. It's creating a new unique URL that houses every single blog that has that tag. So this is why I'm also telling you, you need to have multiple blogs per tag, or at least a plan to make multiple blogs per tag. If I only have this one blog living in this one URL, this one tag, what is the point of creating a second URL that only houses one blog? They essentially become duplicates, right? This blog has one blog. This blog tag URL has this one blog. They become duplicates of each other. So I don't want people to create blog tags if they don't foresee having at least 2 or 3 blogs living in each tag. Okay, let's go back to the blog post here. So we talked about the difference between a blog category and a blog tag, thinking about it as big themes on your website for the categories, and then tags are the details that are connecting related posts together. I like to say category and subcategory, but also saying tags are details that connect all the related posts might make more sense to you, because you can't have that one tag connecting multiple posts that span multiple categories. But they are always more granular. Okay, so why do blog categories and tags matter for SEO? Well, we talked about this in the beginning. Google loves seeing that related content linked together. And we can do a little bit of that, like on our service page. So my service page for newborn photography links my newborn portfolio. It links some newborn blogs, and now I have this little content neighborhood. But blog tags and blog categories could potentially link hundreds of related content together, further cementing the fact that you are an expert in that area. And then the same with tags, right? Tags are the little micro ones, but I could still have 30 great what to wear posts into that one what to wear tag. But let's go one step further. Remember that when I came here and I showed you that it creates this URL, this tag, and then SEO basics, and it's its own URL, this is indexable. Meaning, if somebody searches SEO basics, this URL is eligible to come up for it. So Google could decide to display, if somebody says SEO basics for photographers, it could decide to display this URL for my tag that houses all of my related blogs together. So that's where blog tags and blog categories can really level up your search results, because they can return in Google search when done correctly as their own search result, competing for their own key phrase. Okay, well, let's come back here. So just best practices, categories, no more than 5 to 8 main topics. You could potentially have more categories, but if you feel like you're going out past that 8-9 mark, that's probably when you really need to think about using tags. You only want to use tags if you have more than one blog to put into each of those tags. And you do not want to have the case where you have 5 very related tags and they all store the same exact blog post. An example of this, and I see this a lot, I did this in the beginning too, is having 5 tags, one that says family photo, family photos, family photography, photos of families. They're all the same tag. You only need one. And then make tags specific but relevant. So you don't want to get so creative here that Google wouldn't understand what the point of your tag was, and the same with your user. We talked a little bit about this, that the SEO benefits is that categories and tags create their own URL, which means that it is eligible to show up in a Google search when done correctly. You want to build those content neighborhoods because it's all linked together. And then you can use these URLs. I could come in here and I could highlight this URL and I could link it somewhere on my main website. So I could say, hey, if you're just starting out with SEO, here's a list of my favorite blogs to get you going. And then I could link back to this tag. Now, it doesn't work if I'm not careful about what I'm putting in here. Then it might frustrate somebody if they get here and it's like a blog post about my dog, which I do blog about my dog, but I do not put him in the SEO basics tag. Okay. So coming back, just sort of, there's an example here. You could pause it and read it, but I've kind of talked about this. But sort of wrapping it up, when you are utilizing blog tags and blog categories correctly, all of your blog posts are going to get a boost in SEO. When you are using blog tags and blog categories incorrectly, meaning they don't mean anything, right? Like you have categories that don't really support your overarching theme and your blog tags are like blue. And maybe you're doing photos of people in blue outfits. And so you're just thinking of every possible tag out there and it looks like fluff. It has the opposite effect and it confuses Google and all of your blogs can go down. So it's important that if you're utilizing tags, you're using them intentionally. If you don't think you have enough time to do tags correctly or you don't have enough content, just forget about them. This is a bonus. It's an add-on. It's an SEO 2.0. But your categories should, at the bare minimum, be 3 to 4 things that you can write 1 to 2 blogs about each one. And hopefully they're matching the overarching theme of your website. If you have any questions on this specifically, you can drop me a comment below and I will do my best to answer them. This is just such an amazing opportunity to pick up your SEO traction without having to write new content. And if you're like me, writing new content is not my favorite thing to do. So I like finding these pockets where I can reorganize my existing content to make it better utilized by my clients and by any search engine that happens to be crawling it. If you like this video, go ahead, give it a like, share it with a friend, and hopefully I will do a few more of these.